welcome to the African Actions Network radio and television station. We are happy days hour to be here and with a very special discussion. As you may be aware, Liberia will go to its presidential and legislative elections next year, 2003. There are more Liberians inside and outside of Liberia that are interested in the presidency. Many of them think that Liberia is yet not on course. And because of that, some of them believe that, hey, they can take part into the election, they can contest the presidency. In that tune, today we have one of those persons, Mr. Benjamin Kofa Flank. He says he wants to be president of that country, Liberia. He says George Weah is not the person to be president. Because of that, he has decided to put his heart in the race. Let's hear from Mr. Flynn what he has to offer. So we're going to be quizzing him on this at this hour. Mr. Flynn, welcome to 2A Radio.
I want to say thank you, Mr. Jensen. I'm always happy to discuss anything Liberia. I'm happy to be here. You and myself, we are Liberians. It is very good to have a respectful and civil dialogue on Liberia. The goal at the end of the day is to make Liberia better. You and I think we have a responsibility to ensure that the right things are done for Liberia. We can do that through advocacy. We can also do that through personal involvement in terms of ensuring that things are done by contesting for public offices. I'm very happy to be here today, and I look forward to a very fruitful and very engaging dialogue. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, it's good to have you on the African Actions Network radio and television station. Who is Mr. Benjamin Kofa Flynn? Who wants to be president? Who are you?
Well, just for the records, I want to fix this. My name is Benjamin Kofa Fania. Benjamin Kofa Fania. The Finn is just, it was just, I kind of shortened my last name on Facebook, so a lot of people call me Ben Finn. Well, that's okay. I mean, that's all good. You see, this is what I always tell people on every show I go on. Liberians, we have some of us, I won't say all of us, we have a misunderstanding of what efficiency or education is. So we look at the people with a big degree, with a big title, the so-called big job experience. And we pay emphasis to what I call competence. I'm an ordinary Liberian. I don't have a big PhD, but I will tell you this much. I can tell you, I can tell Liberian. History is made by ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Number one, I have the will, I have the desire to move Liberia forward. I am a former manager with what I call retail automation with Walmart for 14 years. I also have done retail consultancy for Kmart, for TJ Maxx, for a firm in North Dakota. And I will say that right now I work with a regional consultancy in what we call a retail automation efficiency. That is making sure that stores like Walmart, stores like TJ Maxx, that they are efficient. And I don't want to bring that to the Liberian side. All I want to bring to Liberia is my capacity, my ability to motivate, to inspire, and to lead. And number one, to enforce the laws of Liberia. I think that is the most important thing that I bring to this space that I throw myself into. So that's a little bit of who Benjamin Fania is. I want to remember my roots. I was born in West Point, and I'm proud to be a resident of West Point. Thank you.
Well, that's very good. But I will take you back to the question, and before let me make a little short emphasis. Liberia's presidency is not a place that everyone can get up and say, I want to be president. It is the right of everyone to say that, but the position itself requires a competent individual who has a wealth of experience. People say education is not counted, but how can you appoint a finance minister, for instance? How can you appoint a justice minister, for instance? How can you nominate a justice, a lawyer, to become a justice on the bench when you do not have the requisite education? By that, what is your background in terms of education? For the sake
What
of
I do
our
have,
listener.
yes, I do have a degree in political science, and
Okay.
but I want to bring you back to this. I think I read your profile. You are a lawman. You see, I emphasize competence because people look at degrees as if you're supposed to know it all. I want to tell you this: to become a chief justice of the great United States, you don't even need to be a lawyer. You do not need to be a lawyer. You don't need to be qualified as a lawyer to become chief justice of the United States. You can research that. All I'm trying to tell you is that there should be emphasis on competence because for me, when I lead people, I emphasize results because at the end of the day, that's the bottom line. Let me give you one thing before we move ahead. Under the Unity Party, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf assembled everybody in Liberia that were multiple masters, multiple PhD. Look at the status of Liberia. Look at what she left. I will tell you this. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf assembled them. She didn't have a paradigm. She didn't have a framework to measure performance and hold people accountable in terms of the result that she expected. So leadership is not about how many degrees you have in the bag. Then all the professors we have here today, they should have been leaders. Leadership is about motivating people, inspiring them, and expecting results by holding them accountable. Thank you.
Under the constitutional law of the United
Yeah.
States, and to say someone to become a chief justice of this land don't
Yes.
need to be a lawyer. And I will tell you, no one is allowed to practice law in this country except you are certified as a lawyer. Now, that is not the issue here. Let me take you
No,
to Liberia.
that is a major issue because I'm telling you to become a chief justice,
No,
you
there's
should
no
know that.
issue. I do not.
To be a chief
We
justice,
have
you
a
do not
point.
need to be a lawyer. You do not need to be a lawyer. You
I'm
should know
telling.
that.
Okay, all right. I have told you there is a professional responsibility of everyone on the Supreme Court bench of the United States. And I don't know whether you can give us some precedent as to where
No, no, no. What I'm telling you,
someone
precedent
has
or not,
ever.
you do not need to be a qualified lawyer to become a supreme, the chief justice of America. You don't need to be that. You know that. You should. I mean, you're a
Okay,
lawyer, right?
okay. But I have told you that no one is allowed to practice law in the United States without being certified by one of those states to
Yeah,
practice
but
law in this country.
so
But that is not the issue. I don't want to.
no,
Mhm.
no. You are telling me that requirement uh, uh, for the chief, justice position. I mean, you're telling me is moot or is not? It's a requirement, though. You don't have to be a lawyer. You
It's
know
a
that. I
requirement.
mean,
That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. It's a requirement that you must be a lawyer before you
no,
get on
no, no,
that.
no.
In the procedures,
No,
okay,
if you say
we
that,
were
it will
talking
be
about
inaccurate.
what would be your reliance to tell me or to tell the
No,
audience
because that's what
someone
I'm
can be
saying.
a
You don't need to be a lawyer to become the Chief Justice of the
what
United States. You
is
don't
it
need.
that you can tell us, the audience, the law that you rely on
Okay,
to
you know
say you
what?
don't have
Let's
a lawyer?
let's go to Liberia because I will inbox it to
Fine.
you so
That's
you can
what I
see what
said
I'm
to
talking
you.
about.
That's what I said to you, Mr. Flying. That's what I said to you. We have a lot to discuss. And
Yes.
Liberia's presidency, you want to be
Yeah.
a president.
Mm-hmm.
You have an experience. You just told us
Mm-hmm.
that you have a degree in political science.
Yep.
I'm one person who believes in that. I studied political science in my first year, and I believe that no one should be president of Liberia who just came from the market, who came from the football field, who is a musician. Those are mistakes that people made. Now, it's not because Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, as an educated person, make those mistakes. means that we can just disregard education, meaning Liberia will continue to fail. Whether educated or not, there are some bad leaders, but it is good that I'm hearing that you study political science. Now let's go into the issue. The Constitution of Liberia says before you become president, you must have resided in the country 10 years prior to elections. How long have you been there? Have you been in Liberia 10 years prior? We just heard from your introduction that you worked for Walmart for the past 14 years. So how long have you been in Liberia to go
Yes,
and
you
contest
see,
the election?
when you say that, especially so from the backdrop that you are a lawyer,
Hmm.
you are negating. I mean, you are negating or you are ignoring what we call extenuating circumstances. I will tell you this, my brother. You, myself, and hundreds of thousands of Liberians, we did not voluntarily leave Liberia. We did not. Hold on. Let me land. We are mostly people. There are people in Liberia who are internally displaced and who are externally displaced. They call us refugees. Now, hold on. Let me just land. Um, During the election of 2005, that condition was raised. But the counter argument came up. They said, well, many Liberians left Liberia simply because of the war. They were forced to leave in terms of safeguarding their own lives. So that requirement was waived. Hold on a second. We came to 2011.
Hmm.
That same requirement, that is a constitutional requirement. But because of
Right.
the precarious condition, they said, well, Liberia was not safe. So many people did not return home. So that constitutional requirement should be waived. We come up to the last election, Cummings, who took part in the 2011 election. All of that was waived because they call what we call extenuating circumstances. So it's not my staying in Liberia 10 years. I will submit to you. I've been out of Liberia more than 10 years. It's a constitutional requirement. But in the name of what Liberians call unity and the betterment of Liberia, we can give every Liberian a chance because these people did not leave Liberia voluntarily. Most of them were refugees. So we cannot disbar anybody. Cummings took part in the last election and the election before that. Cummings is an avowed American citizen. He wasn't in Liberia for 10 years, but he was allowed to participate because, like I said
Are
again,
you are
there is,
you are you are you
excuse
are
me,
you
let me land. Let me land. Because of extenuating circumstances, then the fact that we want unity and we want the best Liberians to put their foot in the race. So at the end of the day, Liberia can benefit from their expertise. Go ahead.
I'm glad that I'm having you on this program and that the Constitution of Liberia is the standing organic law of the land.
Yes.
It is the number one law that everyone, especially those of you who want to be president, we have to respect and uphold. Circumstances that led to the suspension of the provision abide no longer exist. It is the National Elections Commission that will make the ultimate decision as to whether or not an individual is qualified to contest election on the basis of these provisions of the Constitution. My
I
question to
will, I
you
will,
again,
I will interrupt you there.
if I may just ask my question, then you can follow up with that.
No,
My
let me
question
interrupt
to
you there
you
before I
on
lose.
the
No,
record,
I need to
on the
interrupt.
record, on the record,
I like
on the
this
record,
show.
on the record.
Yes, no, I need to interrupt you there. You see,
Okay.
when you talk about that, especially so constitutional issues, you are a lawyer.
Mhm.
Now, in political science, our last year we do law. What you just said has not been tested in a court of law. So you cannot give the National Election commissioner the authority to interpret the Constitution. It's the law courts that got to do that. So even if the National Election Commissioner says anything, every Liberian who want to contest, they have that right to test that in a court of law. So they can say whatever they want. We have that right to test whatever they say in a court of law. And if they say that they want to bar us, fair enough. We will test that argument in a court of law and let's see what happens. Yes. I mean,
Well,
you are a
I'm glad
lawyer, you
you
should know that.
mentioned it, but I just told you that the National Elections Commission has a responsibility to qualify every individual who wants to be president on the basis of what the Constitution says. Now, I did not say the National Election Commission is the interpreter of the Constitution of Liberia, even though I'm aware that the National Elections Commission can conduct a preliminary investigation of whatever constitutional issue that is carried before it.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, and I want you to be on the record.
Yes.
Have you been in Liberia for 10 years to certify this provision of the Constitution?
The categorical answer to that is a no. But then I want to address this by saying this. The National
I will tell you that you are not qualified. You are not qualified. If there are extenuating circumstances, they find them on the basis of the provision, you are not qualified to be president. Will I be correct if I say that?
The National Election Commissioner, their interpretation could even be counter to the Constitution. You know that you're a lawyer. We will test that in the court of law. That's what the courts are there for. They interpret the law.
It's a right. So it is a right. It is a right to go to to challenge the National Election Commission. Yeah. But in the first place, that body is on a constitutional. You know, the National Election Commission is a constitutional charter, right?
Yes, but they can also have constitutional conflicts. You know that. I mean, on the
basis of that, they are not expected to qualify people on the basis of quote unquote extending circumstances or issues that border Liberian living in Liberia because of civil war.
Then I will ask you this. As a lawyer, I will ask you this. Cummings, how did he contest the last election or the election before? Why? Well, why was he allowed to contest?
This is the mistake that people make.
Oh, I'm just asking. No, let's engage in legal argument.
I will answer. I agree. I mean, honestly, I hope you take this in good faith, right?
No, it's in good faith. I like this dialogue because it's very good. Simple.
Cummings, Alexander B. Cummings.
Yeah.
If he took part into elections and he was allowed to take part into elections and he did not live in Liberia for the length of time the Constitution spelled out, I will tell you that was a violation of the Constitution. If that took place and the living Constitution was
allowed to contest, right?
Just a minute.
Go ahead.
There are people who are in violation of the Constitution of Liberia. And sometimes when those things happen, they live with it. Because people don't have the guts to challenge them before the Supreme Court of Liberia. But that does not vitiate the existence of the law. The law is the law.
Okay, but the
provision we are quoting, just a minute, the provision we are quoting is living. It's not dead. So
my brother, let me come in here.
Provision should stop each and every one of you who have not lived in the country for more than 10 years. Except the National Election Commission decides otherwise. And if they decide otherwise, it is a right. Just a minute, if you can listen. If they decided otherwise to allow you who have not lived in Liberia for 10 years to contest the election, it behoves those who are constitutional respecters to challenge the National Election Commission and ask them, why did they qualify you for participating into elections when you have not dwelled in Liberia for about 10 years?
No, that's a good point, Mr. Jensen. Let me come back. Please, let me come back. Yeah. You know, Mr. Jensen, you're an attorney. Laws operate on what you call precedents. The precedent have been set. Laws operate on precedent. You cannot tell me that comments will be allowed, then other people will not be allowed. The law is blind. Justice is blind. The precedent have been set. That's how law operates. I mean, that's what they call case law. We will cite that. That comments will let me inform you before we proceed.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, my brother.
The letter of the law remains as the fundamental provision of the Constitution, particularly so this provision we're discussing. The precedent. Now, I don't want to dwell on Cummings so much because that's another factor.
No, because you're one of the major actors.
Yeah, listen. You're talking about case law. If the Supreme Court is under obligation to uphold what the Constitution says, the Constitution is supreme. The Constitution stands above all other laws. Even the precedent you're talking about, you can have a case law be revised as a result of a sitting bench. Now, I don't want us to dwell ourselves on law
No, that
issues
is
here.
good, my brother, because
Okay, let
people
this
are
person
listening, they will learn.
You want
People
to
are
be
listening, they will learn.
president.
But
Okay,
what
we
I'm
get
saying
invested.
is,
Okay, let's go
no,
forward. Let's go forward. The
no,
question
no,
to
no.
you
I
is
have to,
this:
I have to come back one time. What I'm saying here is,
Cummings.
if Cummings was allowed to contest 2 elections, literally with the full knowledge that he has not met that requirement, I don't understand on what legal basis other people will be barred. I cannot understand, because there are precedent there. We can test the precedent in court of law. And what I would say is, let the
You
court
talk about
interpret
prevailing
the law.
circumstances. You
Yeah.
talk about prevailing circumstances. I don't have all of the facts before me regarding Cummings.
Uh-huh.
But let us assume and let us agree that Cummings was allowed to participate in the election. Does that suggest to any reasonable mind that people must continue to disrespect the Constitution and do not
No, we are
uphold the
not
Constitution?
disrespecting. We are acknowledging the fact that some of these people
You
left
are
Liberia
acknowledging
not
that there
on
was
their
a
own
precedent,
belief.
a case law, right? That's why you say, in your own words, there were circumstances that led to Cummings. There were circumstances that allowed Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to participate in the election. So you, in your mind, those circumstances still exist. And because of that, you who are led out of Liberia and have worked for Walmart for over 14 years, you must be allowed to participate in the election. That's what you say. And I'm informing you that the Constitution, the letter of the Constitution.
No, my brother, if they deny me, I will take the case to the court, that the court will interpret the law. Let the court confirm my denial.
Great. Then we can move forward. I agree with you 100% that you have your right if you are denied a Supreme Court, whether or not you have a right to participate. Great.
Yeah.
Let's go to the second part. Do you have a property value of more than $35,000? If I'm not mistaken, let me find the provision quickly before we move ahead. But that's the question. Do you have any property value for more than $1,000 in Liberia? Or is that another circumstances that for which?
Yes, you see, I think I don't want to make this a circular argument, because I want the Liberian people to gain something from this engagement. When Cummings contested, did he have property value 35,000?
The reason why I'm bringing you to this team, because the Constitution is the fundamental law.
I understand what you're saying, but like you are making it a circular argument, and it will go nowhere, because I'm just telling you that when Cummings was allowed to contest,
there are three major No, there are 3 major criteria that the Constitution.
I know those criteria, my brother.
Very good. So I just wanted to confirm on record whether or not you meet this criteria. That's all. Then we'll move ahead.
My answer to that will be, we have precedents where other contestants were allowed to contest with not fulfilling those requirements because of extenuating circumstances. So when we are denied, like I told you before, we will take our case to the Supreme Court, let the Supreme Court interpret the law. Then we will accept the Supreme Court, because we believe in the rule of law. We believe in the rule of law. We
so can we just answer our question? I agree with you. I agree with you. You have all right to go to the Supreme Court.
So
then, for the record, my brother, do you have property value in Liberia that worth about $25,000?
The answer I will give you is what I gave you before. Those provisions of the Constitution have been waived because of extenuating circumstances. If we are barred, if our ambition is stalled at the NEC because of those conditions, we will test the validity of those opinions in the Supreme Court. That's what I'm telling you. That's the answer right there.
So, but that answer, I will surmise that you do not have a property value of $25,000.
Well, I will waiting to that. As a lawman, I would say that's an opinion. It's not based on facts. But I'm just telling you, the precedent.
Your answer to me, your answer is that you have not met those criteria because of prevailing circumstances.
My answer to you is, there are precedents where prevailing condition of the Constitution have been waived due to extenuating circumstances. If our candidacy is refused, we will revert to the Supreme Court to interpret those provisions, whether they affected what we are qualified to.
Also tell us, was Cummings not did Cummings not meet the property value spelled out in the Constitution?
No, what I do know is that What I do know for a fact that Cummings has spent maybe more than half of his life outside Liberia, and he has on the record through media reports stated that he's not a Liberian, but he was allowed to contest the election of 2011 and 2017. So for us, if we go and submit our application to the National Election Commission and it's been refused, we will say, oh, thank you. We will take your refusals to the court for interpretation in terms of how it affects our candidacy. We believe in the rule of law, my brother.
I agree with you. So then you don't have the property value of $25,000.
I would say you have an opinion. It is not fact. We will just use precedent.
You are a person who want to take into election. Do you have a property value of $25,000 in Liberia?
My brother, that's what I'm telling you. I just told you during the onset of this program, segment of the constitutional provisions have been waived because of extenuating circumstances. If our candidacy is impacted by those provisions, we will take them to the court for interpretations, and we will accept the court judgment.
This is a factual question. This will be a question easier for you to answer. No, how do you say, look, I don't have this is the first question. Look, I have not lived in Liberia for more than 10 years, which you are on record.
Like so property value. You see, for me, in my final year, I did a lot of law, and I'm just telling you, we will use the law to interpret what the situation would be.
I don't. You are 100% right on that.
That's what I'm saying.
Right to proceed to the court, but the question that we have, the Constitution says this amount. Someone should have it before they participate in the election. Is it difficult to answer the question, yes or no?
No, it is. No, you see, the thing is, you see, no, you are a lawman. When you answer the question, you should get the answer from your witness. I'm just telling you that precedent has been set where people participated in the election, where provisions were waived. So when we submit our application for participation and provision are cited in terms of barring us, we will take those bars to the Supreme Court for interpretation. Let the court rule and say,
no, Benjamin, means that you don't have a property value to the father. We'll move ahead because you don't have property value in Liberia of more than $25,000.
You have an opinion, and I respect that.
Let's go to a few other questions.
Thank you, sir.
What are some of the flaws? George Weah is the president of Liberia. He wants to retain the second year, meaning that he wants to contest to fulfill the second term allotted for him. Why do you think George Weah should not become president of Liberia for the second term?
Well, you see, one of the things that I do is, to encourage efficiencies, I look at numbers. One of the mistakes I see most people doing is that they don't look at the budget of Liberia. The budget of Liberia since 2005 tell me that the country is not functioning. The country is not functioning at all. It is not functioning. Look at the appropriations and look at the impact. It tells me that, I will tell you this from, this is not only from George Weah, but from the Unity Party. It tells me that the country, let me just give you one thing. Maybe you don't, I don't know if you know this, but I'll just share with you. Budget. The major revenue stream should come from what you call taxes on income. Let me tell you what that means. That means in your country, people are working, people have jobs. That means people are working. It should constitute 60% plus of your revenue. In Liberia, the most important revenue streams come from taxes on international trade. You know what that means? We are stifling business. People are not working in the country. The few people who are working, those who import or export, we are overtaxing them. We are even driving Liberians out of the economy. So it tells me, I can cite, if you look at the numbers, Liberia is not functional. We need somebody who knows. Let me tell you one key thing, my brother. Me and you right now, on this show, this is 2022, the close of 2022. Maybe 98% of our country don't have an address. That don't bother you? We don't have an address system. How does the emergency services work? How do we even arrest people? We don't have unique identifiers for our people. Yeah, they call it social security numbers. How do we know who John Brown is? So, Liberia as it exists today, almost every Liberian, except for the lawmakers, we don't have access to health care. We have to pay for it. In America, a significant portion of the budget go to Medicare, Medicaid, almost 60% of the budget. I'm talking about trillions of dollars. So I'm telling you, if you look at the numbers, the country is not functioning. But let me tell you what is wrong here. There's something called citizen participation and the lack of leadership. And that's what I want to bring. Can you imagine our country, my brother? There's no social safety nets here. Once you are old, you get the Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, you get food stamp, you get subsidized housing. Look at our people. I mean, look how they live. Then look at the lawmakers. I mean, look at the budget of Liberia, my brother. It's just a payroll for the government. This, I'm talking about from 2005 up to now. It tells me that the country is mismanaged. The people running the country don't know anything about running the country. They do not know anything.
So from what you're saying is like you are concluding that George has mismanaged the country, and because
I will tell
of
you
that,
this, there is no basis to re-elect George Weah. There's no basis. There is no basis to re-elect George Weah. There is no. And
listen to you will feel like George Weah is more competent. A sedition, a member of the CDC party, listening to you, we think that George Weah now has an experience of the presidency than you. Because of that, should be retained. What would you say?
Yeah, you see, well, what I would say to that is every organization, every individual, even you have people who gravitate to you. You were talking about partisans. I wish you would have said independent Liberians. What is their opinion? But if you talk about his partisans, what do you expect from them? I expect nothing less from them. You should have right.
If you were to become president,
they are partisans. You said Sidicians. I wish you had said independent Liberians.
They are Sidicians, but they are Liberians. No, the reason why I'm emphasizing because I'm comparing you with George Weah, and having said that George Weah is incompetent to be retained as president, meaning those Sidicians will disagree with you. So when I say sedition, it doesn't mean then that they are not Liberians. If you were to become the president of Liberia, you would definitely be.
They are Liberians, but they are partisan. Right. You know, it's like they are taking sides.
I agree with you. That means I utter the word. So I agree with you that they are Liberians, right?
Yeah.
But because of your preposition that you have taken, and you want to convince them not to support George Weah, the question so that you can address it and address them in that line, and then they can say, they are president here, I will not vote for him next time because of your analysis. But
I will tell them
the answer because so let's move ahead.
No. I will tell them this. Since George Weah took over, I'm talking about the ordinary people in the CDC. Since George Weah took over, look at your life from 2018 to now. Just look at it and assess the improvements. Then make your decision. That's what I'll tell them. That's what I'll tell them.
Do you think? Okay, let me compare you with someone. Do you think you and Tiawan Gonglo should you become president and not Tiawan Gonglo?
Well, you know, when you see, I will always emphasize this, my brother. You see, when we are talking about Liberia, we should be honest. Most of the people in Liberia, they are what you call opportunistic. Gonglo self, yes. No, I'm saying most of the people, no.
Okay.
Most of the politicians in Liberia, they are opportunistic. Let me tell you something. He served with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. In 2010, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Liberia became the most corrupt nation in the world with Mongolia. The most corrupt nation. I mean, that is a blatant shame. So if he had all the solutions, the formula, we didn't see them back then. We didn't even see flashes of them. You know, we didn't hear him saying, "Oh, I'm standing against some of the policies of my government." As we speak today, this man was a minister of labor. Look at the labor force, participation in Liberia.
So look at one of the corrupt officials. Is he one of the corrupt officials? Is he one of the corrupt officials?
You know what I'm saying? He's one of the people who sat quietly while bad things were done. And
Okay.
it speaks to the lack of integrity.
Hmm.
I will tell you this, my brother. No, hold on. In Liberia, right now,
Mm-hmm.
as we are on this show, check it on your phone. I mean, the unemployment rate in Liberia stands at 4.1%. Can you believe that number? The unemployment rate. That means there is full employment in Liberia. Everybody, once your unemployment rate is less than 6%, it means that the people are full employed. I mean, can you believe that? But that number came from the Unity Party administration, from which this man was a labor minister. That's the same number George we had carrying. So I mean, where's the integrity? Now you got a broom. Okay, you got a broom. Fair enough. Give me the blueprint. Give me a blueprint. I mean, what framework in terms of accountability are you going to use to hold these people accountable? This is not about emotional fanfare. It's about doing the right thing. My brother, let me tell you something. In a few years from now, you and I on the phone, we might be dead.
Mm-hmm.
But people will sit
That
back
is
and
true.
remember, say, what? They say, what did these people do? I mean, what did these people try to do, even to even move the needle? My brother, I'm telling you, Liberia bothers me. Me and you are on this phone. Our country, our entire country don't have a functioning address system. That don't bother anybody. It don't bother the lawmaker that make 8,000 a month. I mean, the hospitals don't work. I mean, that don't bother them. It should bother us, man. It should even make us angry. You know, sometimes I go on some show, they say, oh man, you get angry. If the things that are happening in Liberia don't make you angry, there's something wrong with you. I'm from West Point. I mean, I know where I'm from. I mean, just imagine if a girl child don't go to school. A girl child, imagine if she don't go to school. And look at how many children are out there. The government have no framework, nothing. I mean, on what basis are we re-electing George Weah? There's no basis for re-election. We need something new.
Condemning Gonglo that he doesn't have a blueprint, I will surmise that you have one. What type of economic policy will you introduce in Liberia if you were to be allowed, if you were to be elected as president of Liberia?
You see, that is a good question. Now let's go into economics, because most time politics goes with economics. You see, my brother, when I look at the economy of Liberia, I want to cry. Look at Liberia today. GDP is what? $3.1 billion. Population is what? 5.1 million. It tells me there's no economic activity there. There's no economic activity. Liberia doesn't have an economy, my brother. We have a system that is managed by criminals. We don't have an economy. Let me tell you, my brother, the first thing you need in an economy, the first thing you need, everybody in that space, in that locality, needs to be uniquely identified. That's why here in almost other states, they have what they call social security number, national identification. We need to uniquely identify people, because if I don't know you, I can tax you. When you're in your car, if you go in another state, if you're driving, when the cops, that when you get stopped, based on your social security number, based on your address, no matter what, the fine comes to your house. We need to first uniquely identify everybody. Then we need to enforce a national address system. We need to literally, that means you cannot build a house
Those are
without a
administrative
building.
issues. Those are administrative issues.
No,
Assuming
no,
that
no,
you
no.
were
Listen. No,
to the
maybe you
presidency,
don't know.
those
Those are the
issues.
foundation for the
I
economy.
want us to look at the how much. I want us to look at the
No,
how much. And the question
no.
again is
Let
this. Let me
me
just
no, no, no.
emphasize that.
Let me tell
What
you
type
this,
of
my brother.
policy or
You cannot
system will
build
you
a house without a foundation.
introduce?
You cannot build a house without, that's the kind of process you guys do that is wrong. Those are the foundation of the economy. Let me tell you this. Look at the real estate taxes in Liberia. You know how many LRA could collect? We are not even able to identify the houses in the country. Look at the real estate taxes in your budget. The real estate taxes in Liberia is a little over $5 million for a country with 5.1 million people. It tells me that there's no economy there. Where you
So
live
you don't have
is
property in
right.
Liberia.
No. Hold on,
You
my
don't have
brother.
property in Liberia. You
Let me tell you, my brother. What I'm telling you is that is
right.
the basis for the economy. That's the framework upon which they rest before even you put policy on top of it. If you don't have the foundation, I mean, which policy will work? Which policy will work? How do you tax people in Liberia? How do you tax them? So how do you tax people in Liberia? So you have to have the basic framework upon which you put the policy.
They have the experts in there. And if you will be elected as president of Liberia, you will have to find the best experts, right? So for me, the global or the front look I mean, the economy. For example, let me put it in a practical term. You were given two cows. Those cows. It depends what you want to do that will suggest to us the kind of economic policy you will apply. You are given two cows. Will you grow the cow and get milk to feed your citizens? Will you get the cows and go to the World Bank and borrow money to buy another two cows? Or what would be your approach if you are given two cows as a president of Liberia, looking at your economic policy? Tell me something. I will tell you what kind of a
Okay,
policy you're going to have.
hold on. You see, that's the thing. You know, when I hear about government going to World Bank, what I see there is lack of innovation, lack of capacity to think, to innovate. Liberia, if you search Liberia right now, what you will have there, they will tell you a country with vast untapped resources. You need leaders that have vision. You need leaders that can design programs to grow your economy. We don't need the IMF or the World Bank. We don't need them. Let me tell you this:
Okay.
the economy will be 65% controlled. That means the government will literally direct the economy. We give very, very few areas out there for other people because we need to put in the framework upon which future economy will be based. So we will set the framework, we will set the stage.
Okay. So then, what is your economic policy or system you
My
want to
economic,
introduce?
my economic policy is putting in the framework upon which a vibrant economy will be built. I told you the first thing I will uniquely identify people. The next thing is I will enforce address, and the next thing is empower the LRA to digitize revenue collection. That's the first thing I need before I can put any policy on top of it. Those things should be functional. We don't have them right now. We do not have them. You
Okay.
see, when you see, no, hold on, my brother. When those guys come on your show, they talk about this, talk about that, talk about that. It tells me when I listen to the show, I want to cry for Liberia. These people don't know before. I mean, whichever house you are in right now, that house has a foundation. Your house is not just in the air. There's no foundational basis for the economy. Where's the economy at? Wait, hold on. Last year, we imported $1.6 billion. $1.6 billion. That's how we imported. We exported less than $500 million. You know what that is? Look at the trading balance. You know what that is? We are losing money because we don't have local manufacturing. There's no manufacturing sector. And where's the Liberian economy? Show me the economy. I mean, show it to me. It's non-existent because the foundational frameworks are not there. Those guys coming to you, they're just talking because they are telling you the things that you heard before, and maybe they sound good to you. But to get a grasp of the Liberian economy, you need to put in the foundational framework. They're absent. They're not there. And they will not work. George Weah came. What George Weah told you people? He said, "Oh, Liberians will not be army spectators. Liberians are not even on a fee now, so they don't even qualify as spectators. They're not even on a fee. They wait outside the stadium. You see, because the foundational structure, the economy in
Time
Liberia
is
not
fast
only
spent. We are
works for
moving.
economic.
Time is fast spent. Time is fast spent. Let me ask you this practical question. I will
Go
assume
ahead.
you have children that are in American school. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
I will then think, or let me give you this scenario, and you probably just tell me. Um, you have your son who is on the train track. You have the train coming with Liberians on it. And the only way you can save your son is to redirect the train off the track. Doing that, almost all Liberians on that train, they likely die. What will you do? And your son is on that train, he's on the train track. What will you do?
You know, hypotheticals are good, but I really don't know what you wish to achieve by that. But it's like you know, there are hypothetical things that will lead you to say things that I like. You know, I want you to give me something that is based in reality because that's like hypothetical. Like it's like it don't I want something based in reality.
Okay, let me add more flavor to that.
Thank you.
George Weah is outside of Liberia.
Yeah.
He had other activities, but part of those, he took his son's interest first in my mind because his son was playing for a team in the United States, a team for the United States. Many persons in Liberia are concluding that he loves his son more than Liberians, many of whom are in the streets, many of whom are taking drugs, many of whom are not taking pay, many of whom are not going to school. Take all of these circumstances to be Liberian on the train. See that ball on the train track to be like George Weah's son. Now flip the coin. See that ball like your son on the train, on the track, almost about to be killed. And look at Liberians on the train that when you derail the train, they're going to die and your son going to be safe. That's the question. I just wanted to give us your analysis that will
Yeah, you
give us an
see,
idea as to what kind of leader are you if you were able to be elected as president of Liberia.
now you see one hallmark of a leader, one of the most important hallmarks I would say is accountability. Let me just bring this, George, where I think you said. We have constitutional rules in Liberia in terms of how long George Weah can stay out of Liberia. We have the code of conduct in terms of how much value of a gift, George Weah can accept. Then we juxtapose that with a legislature that is dominated by the opposition. And we see that they do nothing. So, it's just a monstrous failure of leadership. You see, I will say this, in law, George Weah is doing what he's doing because he can do it. There's no accountability. Me and you here, when we come to a stop sign, even if there's no car, we will stop there. Because we know chances are if we bust that stop sign, if the policeman see it, will be a big fine. That is, we are conditioned to respect the law because we have a sense of accountability that might be brought to bear upon us. George Weah knows he's not held accountable. Last year, my brother, let me just say this. Last year, I cried. Budget of Liberia over $1 billion, almost $800 million plus. Nothing went to the Liberian people. Ministry of State got $20 million. The EPS got more money than the Liberian National Police. The EPS. There's no health care for Liberians, but the legislature is dominated by opposition members. That budget passed. Cummings runs CPP. Joe Walker runs UP that have a majority of the lawmakers. What did they do in terms of critiquing that budget, in terms of managing the appropriations? And what did they do? It's a failure of leadership. So I will tell you this, my brother, George Weah will go to Liberia tomorrow. That train will kill my son because George Weah will go to Liberia tomorrow. There will be no accountability. The opposition dominates the law. They dominate the legislature. Why are they not holding George Weah accountable? Why are they not? Look at every aspect of the state in Liberia. Ministers don't do their job. Nobody is held accountable in terms of performance. The legislature can call people for inquiries. Why is this not happening? Me, as we speak right now, RIA Road, it's a death trap. There's a big hole there. RIA itself is a death trap. There's no light. What is the legislature doing? It's a failure of leadership. Until we can have Liberians who love Liberia and who wants to see change in Liberia, my brother, that train will kill my son. The train will kill my son because there is no leadership and there is no accountability on the leadership. John, we will go to nothing will happen. Trust me, nothing will happen. Nothing. Trust me. We'll sit down on this show and talk again. Me and you.
Okay. We will. Thank you for that your answer. And let me ask you, why the presidency and not maybe thinking probably you could be best fit for the Senate or for a representative position. Why then? Everybody may be asking questions. Why did young man want to be president? Why not be in the Liberian Senate?
Yeah, here. Unfortunately, I study politics, right? Representation, especially so when it comes to Africa, is upside down. What I mean by that is there is a total lack of accountability. We just talk about it right now. The opposition dominate the legislature in Liberia, but George Weah can send anybody there. There will be, confirmed. George Weah can send budget there. The budget pass what they call 5G speed. The body is broken, my brother. It's broken. And in Africa, unfortunately, I use that term. We have what you call the imperial presidency. The president literally runs everything. And let me tell you why that is bad. Look at Liberia. Look at the mayors, superintendent. Look at all those people. Those people should literally have some kind of autonomy to run their local areas. But everything runs through Joe Weah. Joe Weah appoint superintendent. Joe Weah appoint major. Joe Weah appoint. No. So when I get that office, I will literally divest the authority. We have to give some of those local people local authority to conduct businesses, and we have to hold them accountable. My brother, I can ask you right now, give me one superintendent that you know is doing anything. The superintendent should literally be like a governor. He should be managing the county. The superintendent wait for orders from George Weah. Shouldn't be the case. So to change all of that, you need a national leader who will be willing to divest some of his power, to delegate.
If you were ever to be elected, will you audit the Ellen and Weah's administration?
My brother, there are two things I want to do on day one. I will audit the Unity Party government, and I will audit George Weah. Forensic audit. Forensic. The next thing I will do, I will demand a full implementation of the TRC report. Full implementation. That's the two things on day one.
Which county are you from, if I may ask?
Greenville, Sano County.
You are from the Southeast. Southeasterners are always wanting to be at the top of politics, like George Weah. Will you ever agree to submit to be a vice president or any of the presidential candidate, like Tiawan Gonglo, like the Coleman, like the Barkai?
Now you see, when you say that, you are a lawman. I will want you to check this thing after this class. You see, when you do what you call comparative politics, right? Canada, right? 90% of the prime minister since Canada was established, a significant number of the prime minister of Canada comes from one region. Let me tell you why we miss the mark in Africa. There is too much emphasis on ethnicity as opposed to competence. I can tell you this, I can have 10 crew guys. If the crew guys are doing the job, I don't mind. 25 GIO guys. If the GIO guy is doing the job where my children can go to school, I don't care. In America, you go to some of the airport, who do you meet? You need Chinese, Vietnamese, you meet everybody. They don't care who does the job. The bottom line is that job needs to be done. But this emphasis on ethnicity, it even gives room to incompetence.
I'm not sure you're going to get rid of all of the laws, the statutes of the country. There's a statute, executive law, that says the sitting president must appoint 2 persons from a county. That regional balance, you spoke about decentralizing the country.
Yeah.
If you were to ever become president, give power to the people. That's what I was hearing from you.
Yes.
But to speak the other way around, I'm thinking otherwise. What will you do if for any reason you are elected from the southeastern part of Liberia as president, and you have qualified presidents? I have no doubt that a lot of qualified presidents in the southeast.
Yeah.
Will you conclude of appointing almost every one of them because you want a job done?
I would say no. Let me tell you something. The government should be representative. The government should represent the people. Let me tell you what I would do first. Every county superintendents, they will be elected for a 2-year term. So superintendent will be elected by the people. Mayors will be elected so that those people will be directly held accountable by their own people. Ministers will reflect every county. But you see, when you're running,
let's take our comments. We get a lot of comments here. We get a lot of comments. We have time as fast.
No, hold on a minute.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Ministers
1 minute, please.
Should be appointed based on competence and experience. So that
Okay.
system of accountability will be held, but they must be representative of the people. I can have just, you say like one group. No, 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 no. Every county have competent people. But what I was trying to say is that it is wrong for us
That's a
to think that
clarification.
one crewman is there, so so there's no more room for another guy who is cool. No, it's wrong for us to think like that.
Okay. All right, we'll take that. And let's take a few of our comments that we have here. There's a lot of comment here. And then we'll take your closing comment. I mean, I guess we will talk more. Election is still far away. There's a lot of questions we have we would love to ask. But let's see. This person says what? Oh my God. My president. Somebody is calling you my president. My matter son, T-Man says my president. Okay. Somebody already have started to call you president. Let me see what this other person say. Shadrach Colley. Shadrach says what? Hope it's work because good agendas with on work is the order of the day in Liberia. Well, I don't know what that person means, but you probably can make your comment at the end. Why go only for the presidency? Well, I think I asked that question. You can also respond to that if you care. Hope it, okay, this is almost the same question. And I embrace Ben Flag presidential candidacy. Well, this is another presidential candidate embracing you. A very smart, progressive man that wants real change to Liberia. It's time for a new breed of leaders in Liberia. Ben is more capable and honest, not perfect, but then the Weas, Buakais, Cummings, and Gonglos. He has my support, and I will work with him. Is he going to be your vice presidential candidate? I'm wondering. But we will talk more about that. That was Ellis Jones. This one says, sorry, we have some slow movement here. Please come up. Okay, this one is not something else. Ellis Jones again. He says, sorry, internet. That residency law has been suspended as much as the census requirement. Constitution provision has been suspended. Let's move on. There are a lot of other constitutional requirements ignored. In Liberia, we can cherry pick the Constitution. So somebody is supporting you. That's your buddy, right? Ellis Jones. He says the Constitution is suspended. There are a lot of other disrespect the Constitution. So you must disrespect the Constitution too, if I may analyze that. We are not, oh, this is Ellis Jones again. Okay, we just have a few more time here. Time is fast. We've got 2 more minutes. This one says, but you don't have to live in Liberia to build properties. Okay, somebody is reacting to my question to you. And this one says, greetings. I'm Michael Y. Nito. Nito, if I hope I pronounce it right. Nito National Acting Youth Chair of Liberia Transformation Party, headed by Reverend Kennedy G. Sandy. I'm watching you live from Painesville City, Monrovia, Liberia. Okay, thank you so much for watching. And just make a comment, we will read in. And this one is from Ellis Jones again. And the Constitution also says the government should seek the social and economic welfare of the people. Has that been honored? Again, we cannot cherry pick from the Constitution what we like. Okay, that's your body. I don't know whether you want to be vice or you want to be vice. But anyway, when we talk about when we you on the show, then we know who is who. Okay, this one, JJJ says what? At this point in our country, I won't overlook or underestimate anyone coming to join the race. We need more qualified Liberians so we can choose the best and the brightest I agree with you, JJJ. Anybody, all those who want to contest, they must line up so Liberians can make a decision. Okay, Michael Nato, Anthony James Chelsea. I will, I would like to communicate. Okay, meaning you want to communicate with me, so we might talk. We will talk again, Michael. This is Joseph Conto. Anthony James Jensen on the question whether the candidates have properties in Liberia, value of 25,000. The guest is telling you that his candidate doesn't have any property in Liberia, but other people never had properties in Liberia, but they were allowed to contest. Therefore, his candidate doesn't have to meet that requirement. Granted, okay, but the Constitution says that. So, um, Josh, we are Alex Jones again. Okay, Alex Jones says that, and let's see whether we can take another comment here. Reverend Kennedy, LTP, Liberia. Oh no, no, no. Okay, so I think time is fast spent. We're going above 1 hour, and we want to apologize, but let's hear from you. Your final comments. Some of the comments you heard, we can read all the comments here, but we hope that the idea is there. Liberians want to know you better. People are even saying it's better that all of those who want to contest for this position should come on board. Let them make their intention known. So, what could be your final closing comment for this show? We'll invite you again, but for purposes of our listeners, you can tell us in fewer words why you want to be president of this country.
Yeah, you see,
And why not
let me
George
end
Weah?
by saying this. Let me end by saying this. You see, Liberians, it would break my heart if next year's election break down in between George Weah, Cummings, and Joseph Walker. Because Mr. Jensen, those are not the best we have to offer. 5.1 million people. Those are not the best we have to offer. I want people to even dismiss me, dismiss just, but I want competent Liberians, people who are experienced, people who have working knowledge to be part of this race. The environment has become so toxic that certain people are even shying away from participation. I want them to come in because at the end of the day, Liberia will benefit. Let me give you the statistics. Rhode Island has less than 1 million people, 1 million, a little over 1 million people. Rhode Island, the economy of Rhode Island is 13 billion. I know people will say, oh, that America. What that tells me is innovation. Let me tell you this, my brother. Norway, before Norway discovered oil, the entire economy of Norway, a European power, right now this year, they are in the top 10 in terms of the best country in the world. They were living on fisheries. We have the Atlantic Ocean from Cape Town to Maryland County. The leaders have no vision. They don't know how to run a country. They don't know, they don't have the basic knowledge of how to manage a country. I mean, look at Liberia. I'm telling my brother, just type Liberia in any search engine. They will say a country with vast untapped resources. Iron ore have been extracted from Liberia since my mother was a little girl. We don't have a fitting steel mill. We don't have I will tell you that when they extract the iron ore, they take it to Europe, whatever they take it, they convert it to steel rod, they come and sell it back to us. They take our stuff for nothing. Rubber, Firestone being in Liberia ever since God knows when. We don't have a plant in Liberia to add value to rubber, a government plant. Right now, you are speaking. Next week, people are going to protest for rice. We have one of the best agricultural land in the world. We can't feed ourselves. The Ministry of Agriculture has $8 million. The EPS have $12 million in the national budget. The priorities are wrong. The leaders have no vision. They don't know how to manage the state. The Minister of Agriculture, as we speak today, she's an LACC inductee. She's still there. The National Election Commissioner, who you were talking about going to bar me, she's an LACC inductee. I'm surprised you didn't talk about that. She's indicted for criminal activities. And you didn't, no, and this person with no legitimacy is going to manage the election. That should bother you. You are an attorney. The LACC or GAC, you and I, we don't work there.
I'm
They
sitting on
didn't
the other
invest.
side of the fence to ask you all of these questions. The last few
No,
comments that would,
let me end. Let me end.
yeah.
You see, so the country is like a ship without an engine. It's adrift. We need more Liberians. Liberians, anyone, the few people hearing the sound of my voice, disqualify me. Encourage your friends, your brother, your relatives. Let them become part of this race so that next year, whoever will win on the basis of the superiority of their ideas and their capacity and ability to bring change to Liberia. If George Weah win election, where are we going? Joe Walker win election, where are we going? 12 years, Unity Party corrupt and incompetent. This man able to manage this country. Cummings don't know anything about politics. He have no political knowledge or training. He's going to manage Liberia. We jumping from the frying pan to the fire. So I want to thank everybody who tuned into the show. I do appreciate every Liberian, but my message on this show is I want many Liberians to be bold enough to step forward. Ignore me. Get in this race so that we can be discussing.
Just in one word before you leave. Thank you so much. Thank you. But just in one word, do you have a political party?
No, I'm going as an independent candidate because all the parties that we have right now, they are corrupt to the core. Cummings had a Democratic primary where he was the only candidate.
That's the new all political parties presidential candidate or aspirant, so to speak. Benjamin Kofa Flyer, if I may get it right, or Flyer? Fanier says all political parties in Liberia are corrupt. Would that be right if I said that? If I quoted you that?
200% right. 200%.
Okay, so we want to say thank you so much for joining us, and it was a pleasure to have you. And Liberians who are listening, we'll take your comments and make analysis of what you intend to do for that country if they give you the chance. As again, we said we will welcome you again another time to see how we can ask you some of those other questions that we couldn't ask you. And we also will follow up with those who making comment and see where we can go from there. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much. I hope to talk to you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.